If there's ever a story of how motorcycles can grab you and change your lives, Crooks Moto may be one of them. The YouTube show, which launched just over 2 years ago, is a story of friends who came together through motorcycles, found riding together, started a project, and have grown since then. You're listening to Do You Even Chopper? Hey guys, how's it going?
Yo,
It's going well.
what's up, guys?
So you're correct me if I'm wrong, but you're in Treasure Valley area, like around Boise. So what area are you in, like Nampa or
We were in Nampa, and now since we were both living together in a house, and we had a three-car garage where everything got started. And then we've since split out of that house, and he's moved into Marsing, and I'm in Caldwell.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's like a half hour from Boise for people who don't kind
Yeah,
of know, but
yeah,
uh
just on the outskirts in the country.
yeah,
yeah.
potato growing area there.
Yes,
Um
sir.
Potato cows, hillbillies,
Yeah.
I remember I was on a trip to Boise once, and we get to Orida, and the person I was with didn't realize the name of Orida, like the potato product, had never dawned on them that it was just Oregon and Idaho put together.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
seeing that like as a town, like they're like, "Oh, I'm fucking dumb."
What?
Oh,
Holy cow.
totally makes sense now.
It all comes together.
That's,
Yeah, so since you kind of talked about living together and then and splitting, talk about how Crooks as like a crew came together, and then how that kind of morphed into YouTube, and then we'll kind of go from there because I think that a lot of people don't necessarily, they catch like YouTube shows like midpoint, and they don't necessarily go all the way to the beginning or kind of get all that kind of context. But I think it's interesting for people to know kind of where you come from, and how you kind of got going on YouTube and doing what you're doing.
yeah. I mean, it basically all started, I would say I got a bike, and the biggest thing that I got stoked on buying a bike was watching motorcycle vlogs, especially like
Mm.
solo camp trip vlogs on YouTube. And I just created an Instagram and basically was like, yeah, Crooks Moto. Like I was still kind of playing around with the name Crooks Moto Co., Crooks Moto this, Crooks Motorcycles, something like that.
Hmm.
And I had came down on a trip because I was living in Washington at the time. Came down, stayed with Josh, and was like, dude, I started this Instagram. I think it'd be really cool to like start filming moto vlogs. And I think I want to like, post some videos, get a GoPro, start filming things. And Josh was just like, yeah, dude, like I want to be a part of that, like from the get-go.
Yeah, I had just started. I was doing filming. I was living in Bend, Oregon at the time, and I was starting to film and edit videos for snowboarding
Mm.
and that kind of background. And that fell off super quick. People just got tired of me chasing them around with a camera, which sacrificing a lot of my personal fun time to get shots, which I'm sure you
Yeah.
understand. And but people just got tired of me wanting to film, and so I had just fallen out of the filming stuff, but I had the equipment, and which ended up being dated anyway and needed to be replaced, and so it was perfect timing for that. But the crooks part comes from before all of this.
Yeah, the word crooks comes from kind of the origin of our friend group. We have just like a real close friend group that really our homie Dirty kind of started, and you just kept calling us all his crooks, like his puppies, his crooks, like because we're all just from different, lower class kind of families with different histories of stuff, and so naturally it's just kind of a word for the friend group, and he kind of like pulled in inspiration from like the Crooks and Castles brand.
Oh yeah.
It's like he was really into that brand at the time, and so he just kind of pulled inspiration from that. And yeah, it just kind of started like that. He started calling me Jay Crooks all the time because my last name is Brooks,
Oh
actually.
wow. Yeah, no, that makes
So
it really convenient.
yeah, it just kind of worked from the get go. I was Jay Crooks, and like the homies, we were all the Crooks, you know? And so really that's where Crooks came from. And then it was like, okay, start this motorcycle thing. Like, well, might as well call it, you know, Crooks Moto. Like it just kind of made sense at that point, especially because I'd gotten a bike. And then a little while later, Josh got a bike. And we're like, okay, now we have bikes. Like maybe the other homies start getting bikes, because none of us like, you know, some of us periodically rode bikes, but nobody owned a bike or a
Yeah.
Harley specifically at kind of the time.
How long ago did you get your bike?
I think I got a 2021 Softail Slim. I
Hmm.
went straight to the dealership, sat on one, and just ended up buying one.
And then just it was on
Yeah,
from there
just,
essentially.
just went straight into it. I didn't even know how to ride it. I had to have a homie ride it home for me, you know, that like typical story. And that was, I mean, I think I don't it probably sometime shortly after 2021. I mean, that
Yeah.
bike kind of came out and probably been in the dealership, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months. So probably mid 2021 ish, give or
Yeah.
take. And I
Did
had that
you,
for a
sorry,
while.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you come at it from coming out of like skateboarding and snowboarding, and then you saw those and you kind of made a connection between the feeling of riding and what a feeling of skating or snowboarding is? Or was it just purely like you discovered these blogs and were fascinated by it and had no correlation? I'm always really interested in the correlation between like other action sports and people who get into especially like Harleys and choppers, because this generation it's really prevalent, and sometimes exploring how that works is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I grew up on anything wheels, so it was BMX, skateboarding,
Mm.
but heavily influenced by BMX. I was like, me and my buddy Levi were basically the start of like the freestyle BMX scene in the Treasure Valley. Us and there's some older dudes or whatever, but a lot of dudes were like BMX racers, and we didn't like the structure of racing. It was
Mm.
a bit structured, and so we were just out putting pegs on our bikes and destroying curbs and
Yeah,
stuff
you're
out in the.
talking about modern freestyle as opposed to what people who are, my age and older think of freestyle, which is, bicycle dancing in some ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just jumping around on the bikes doing twirly spins and whatnot. Yeah, that and grew up on dirt bikes and all that kind of stuff. And so I've always had some sort of wheels or motor up until there was a period where I started raising a family where I just put all my effort and monies and things into that. So there was
Hmm.
a pot. Yeah,
So, are
I
you
grew up.
both from the Treasure Valley originally, or did you? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So it's like kind of this whole thing came together when you guys both moved back, essentially.
Well, I've known Josh since I was 14 years old.
Oh, okay.
So I met, and kind of piggybacking off the last question, I've been riding skateboards forever, and I met his good best friend Dirty, who we were talking about a second ago, at the skate park. He was opening a skate shop in Meridian, and I just started going to the shop, and eventually I met Josh. And Josh at that time was riding skateboards and BMX
Hmm.
and even some rollerblades too at that
Yeah,
time.
I've been a rollerblade a time or two.
Yeah.
Skates from the
And
future.
so that's really like where our friend group all kind of started, is like just skateboarding a lot and just kind of going out and doing that stuff. So that's, yeah, how I met Josh. And just through the years, like we've both kind of moved away out of state and came back a
Yep.
time or two. But we've always been, super close kind of homies from that point. So
What keeps you coming back to Treasure Valley? Like, what's the allure?
uh
The Treasure Valley has this amazing like home feel. It's kind of even
yeah.
in the big city, it's got that kind of small town vibe. It's got you feel safe. Number one, I've never not felt even with almost a million people in this valley, you can sleep with your doors unlocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can leave your car doors unlocked for the most part, and your stuff will be there when you get back from inside of the store or when you go out to your car the next morning.
Yeah.
And that and family and friends just keep bringing us back.
Dude, yeah. A lot of the homies just never left. And me and Josh are kind of the two that actually left and went to other states for a bit of time. And yeah, just like Josh said, it just yeah, it just has a home feel. Just I don't know,
There's
the
something
vibe is
about it.
good. The
Yeah.
vibe is good.
People come here and they never leave. It's just
Yeah.
there's something about Idaho, man. People just love it. Once you don't know until you get here, and then you hang out. You go hang one night
Yeah.
downtown Boise, and go have a couple pops, or go down to the river, or go to a game, a football game or something, and you just get hooked.
Yeah.
It's a great spot.
I remember my first time to Boise was for a wedding, and this is probably 98, 97, 98 wedding. We drove from Wazoo and we went all the way down through McCall and everything. And then like we got there on a Saturday night. Everyone was tearing it up downtown. Like, all those bars are so close to each other downtown in Boise.
Yep.
And then like we crashed and we woke up early in the next morning and from where we're from, Western Washington, it would still be trashed. Like there'd be garbage everywhere, but it was like spotless clean. Like the cops have come through, the cleaners had come through already. And that blew my mind. Like that was like a lasting impression for years. And then now from seeing it from there, and especially like from the first tree fort was at 2011, 2012 until now, like all the huge development and changes and everything. It's um, city where it's attracting so many people that it
Yeah.
seems kind of crazy. How does that affect kind of life for people who are born and raised there? Or you just kind of ignore it and move on, or
Well,
Adapt.
just adapting. Yeah, I think a big thing is just housing prices. When I grew up here, like I remember kids that I went to high school with that bought a house like immediately after graduating. They were just like in that financial spot to like, all right,
Mhm.
I'm going to buy a house, maybe start a family. And I had homies buy like a 3 to 4 bedroom house for like 125 grand
Yeah.
at the time, and so that is just not the case anymore, right?
Mm.
So, and even realistically, when you think of, yeah, obviously that was quite a while ago now, but definitely within the last 4 or 5 years of like growth here in this area, it's definitely started, I would say pricing people out of
Oh
like
yeah.
what they can legitimately afford, just because the industry here, like it just pays less. There's not as big industry and tech and all this crazy money. But I also think at the same time, it's kind of coming as well, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of businesses that are kind of putting up little shops here, or there's businesses doing warehouses out here. And so I think we're just in kind of a transition period
Mm.
with adapting to all that growth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
minimum
remember
wage
looking at
is
housing
seven.
prices. My wife and I were going to thinking of moving there at one point. And like they were floating around 85 to 115 for like some parts of town, and then some other parts, it'd be about 200. And now we
Yeah.
look at those same places and the 85 to 115s are like 200 and plus, and then the ones that were 200 are over a half million. So, and that's only, I mean, we were looking at moving like 15 years ago or something. So, but
Yeah, that it's you can't find anything under 3 or 4 if it's not just a dilapidated
yeah.
trailer.
And
It's
the
a
pay
lot.
was like, the reason we didn't was just the pay was so low there
Yeah.
compared
Yeah,
to everywhere
It's
else. That
still
was yeah,
minimum wage is 7.25 still. It's like
yeah.
one of the lowest in the nation.
And
Which people,
ours in January hits 18.
yeah, that's crazy.
crazy.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
and we're
it's
neighbor
wild.
states, right? Like,
Right.
so,
But if you go down to like, I don't know, a fast food joint, they're paying starting 15 or 18 just because they got to get people to work.
yeah,
It's very rare, like young kid, mom and pop situation where they're like, oh, I'll pay you $10 an hour, or
Yeah.
something like that. But for an adult, they just, I mean, even though the minimum wage is that, nobody pays that because
yeah,
people
yeah.
can't afford it.
Everyone's making above it because of the reality of economy.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
can't get anybody to work for 7.25.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah. So now that the kind of groundwork's kind of laid of like the environment that Crooks is kind of born out of, talk about what it was like producing the early kind of YouTube videos and then how you kind of learned the craft of making videos going on. So I think you're on your 104th or so video right now, which
Yeah.
is a lot of work. I mean, people might scoff at that and be like, "Oh, it's only 104 videos," but like they don't understand editing time and everything like that, how much work that actually is. So kind of walk through what it was like discovering it and like kind of where you are now in your process of working.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So yeah, about on the 104th vlog,
Yep.
right? Which is just the vlog videos, right? So we also have videos that aren't vlogs per se,
Hmm.
where it's like a test ride or a part install or something like that. So there's probably another, I don't know, 50 plus of other videos that aren't that. But it all, at least for me, our first video that we filmed, we had filmed a few videos before even I edited the first and uploaded it. We went to this little chopper camp out slash ride called the Sawtooth Shootout,
Hmm.
which our boy Bobby runs. And it's just up in Garden Valley, Idaho, just kind of 45, 50 minutes out of Boise. And I just found the flyer online about kind of the ride portion. And we didn't go and stay because it's like a show up on a Friday, leave on a Sunday, kind of chopper camp out and a ride on Saturday.
Hmm.
So I just told the boys, like, hey, there's this event. Like, I talked to the guy who runs it, said, hey, can we just come up for the ride portion, come ride with you guys? Because I wanted to, like, film a video, and like, me, Josh, and Dirty were just all stoked on it. So yeah, we just cruised up there and kind of met everybody there and just went on that ride portion, which is like from Garden Valley over to Stanley, Idaho. So you go through kind of the highways there over by the Sawtooths, and then kind of go there for a beer and some food and turn around. And yeah, back then, like, I just had a GoPro. I had just bought one, and we kind of just started filming stuff. I just started filming, and pretty much from that point, like, I just edited that first video. I had another little video that I had filmed of me riding back from Washington, from
Mhm.
Idaho to Washington, um, and just edited it, just kind of using my old like skateboard video, like sponsor tape skills. Cause I
Yeah.
used to make like sponsor me tapes back when I was like 13,
Oh
14.
yeah.
And so that's where I learned how to like edit from like Windows Movie Maker,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was super into like the Baker 3 video. And that was the first like video for me that every landing trick would land on the beat.
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing for Crooks Moto videos is I like to do transitions and cuts on like beats of the song.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of like kind of where I started developing a little bit of a kind of viewpoint of
Yep.
like how to edit them. And then yeah, Josh got a camera, and then we just like, started just filming everything,
Yeah.
learning how to like talk on the cam and like bring the user to the experience. That was kind of,
That's probably one of the most difficult things to learn, I would assume, is
it's
because
hard.
it's like an invisible audience in a way that you're trying to engage with. So
Yeah.
how do you turn that switch on to where you're like, hey guys, you know,
Yeah,
like and
exactly.
subscribe, like all that stuff. I mean, it's some people think it's corny, but it is like how you kind of capture someone and bring them into your world, right? So like how did you kind of learn that kind of ability and mannerism? Was it just from doing it time and time again, or were you watching other people and kind of mentally taking notes? Like how do you kind of develop that skill from nothing to that?
Yeah.
I would say this, I would say Jason has always had this clear, enunciated, like bright, chirpy, hey, what's up, guys? Like he had it right away. I had to
Yeah.
learn to, because I kind of just speak a bit like this when I'm like, but when I get on camera, I have to be like, hey, how's it going? It's time for us to go, do the thing today and welcome. And I had to develop it a little bit of just Jason being like, hey, what's, you know,
Gotta up the like the hype,
up the
the
stoke, like,
excitement,
Yeah, yeah. Like you're
so
riding high on like energy drink or something talking, but not
Yeah.
fast, but like that kind of exaggerated levels of energy.
Yeah, enthusiasm. I think for me, it just like I've kind of always just kind of had that bit of personality, I think.
mhm.
And something about because I had kind of I had, filmed a bunch of like skate video stuff, and I filmed stuff in like filmmaking class in high school. I just kind of, I don't know, it just felt a little more natural. I still had to like learn to do it too. And I mean, we just kind of slowly developed a way of like categorizing, like, okay, we're going to do the intro. Okay, now we're going to like film us, walking over to this part or getting on the bikes here, and just kind of checking in with ourselves like, hey, did we talk enough like to the person on the other side
Mm.
about this, what we're about to do?
Yeah.
And then a big thing was learning how to ride motorcycles and film with GoPros
Oh yeah.
between like I started doing the face cam stuff, watching other moto vlogs. So I kind of learned how to set that up. And then we had to learn how to just like film with the other hand while, riding with the other one on the throttle and turn GoPros on in our laps.
Yeah.
And
One-handed, hanging off the side of the bike.
yeah.
Yeah.
Getting the angles.
Yeah, it was just just a learning curve. And the editing too, even for me, I just had to just keep doing it, get longer and longer videos. Like our third video was we went to a motorcycle show in Boise. What was the name
Landlocked?
of that? The
Landlocked.
Landlocked
Yeah,
show.
Brandon's show.
Yeah, so we went to that for our third little video, and that was kind of more like, that was our first, besides that ride, the first one with kind of some chopper homies. That was our first like chopper motorcycle show vlog.
What location at Landlocked? Was that at the Cantina, like the first couple, or was it Linen Factory already?
That was Linen Factory.
Yeah,
Okay.
Linen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was what a great venue. Super
That was a
cool.
great venue, yeah. We
Kind
we,
of boutique.
we vended at all the Linen Factory ones. I think we went to the first one, and then the second one we started vending at the Cantina, and then after that we were, all the other ones we were vendors. So, but I like
Yeah,
the Linen Factory a lot because it's right across the street from a great motel, so you
Yep.
could stay and just be right there. And I only know that motel because that used to be where you would check in if you're a performer for a tree house or a tree fort, I mean. So I'd go check in there and then we'd stay there and everything, unless we were staying at a buddy's house. But yeah, that's the perfect spot, you know.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I think for us, that was our first real like, oh man, choppers. Like, because at least us together, sure, we've seen them before on the internet or seen them in our, own little past, history. But that was the first time we were all just together, like looking at bikes and being like, whoa, look at how this brake pedal is mounted. And like, look
Yeah.
at these bars with this pipe and this seat. Like, it kind of really got us just really stoked from that point of just like into choppers more. That was
Was
like
that the one? Was it at the one of the landlocks at the Linen Factory? It was like 105 degrees. Was it that one, or was it the one that was earlier in the year and totally nice?
This one was nice.
It
Yeah.
was perfect.
We were in like t-shirts.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything too hot. I want to say it was in like 2022, probably.
Something like that.
I think so, give or take. That's right
20,
around,
yeah, 2022, 2021. Yeah.
because we started the channel, like at least started the YouTube account in like June of 22.
Oh, okay.
So that's like officially our like, I guess, birth of the YouTube channel.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, okay, you kind of talked about how to learn as you go and starting to create content. Um, and now you're, for your video blog, you're 100 and like, two past those first couple. What's your process now? And then maybe listeners would be interested in, so like, say you have 15 minutes of video that is final edit. How much footage time wise are you cutting out? Because I don't think people have a concept of like how much work and how much having to rewatch stuff over and over again and how many hours of footage go into just a few minutes of video.
Yeah, I would say so. On some of our like trip videos where it's like we'll go for a trip to Bend, like 3 days, Friday, Saturday, come back on a Sunday or something. Like we will literally go through 100 gigs worth of like video files, because
Yeah.
all our stuff is just recorded on like, these GoPros, either 4K or 5.3K. We record at 60 frames per second. They're just huge files. And so, I mean, even like just a normal 15-minute video, there is just probably at least like 2-3 hours worth of content. And our big thing that we really started implementing pretty early on was just to film everything, as many things as we can do. You know, when we're like working in the garage, if it's a garage video, we got one camera that's a stationary cam. We got one to kind of walk around with. We got another one just for a secondary, maybe time lapse or something. And it adds up, man. It adds up. There's so much content because I've saved every one of our video files on probably 10 hard drives. So our entire history is on like 10 hard drives, and they're like 4 terabyte, size drive each. So there is, I mean, yeah.
I think a lot of that comes from, especially back in the skateboard background, when you're starting to learn how to film, you learn like, okay, I'm going to start filming you way before you say go, because sometimes just that getting that little bit of a heads up, you can edit out, you can clip it and edit and stuff, and you can't, you can take away, but you can't put back in. So it's better to film as much as you can, which just turns into so much footage. Dude, it's crazy, but you can always take it away.
Yeah, when we went to Sturgis, we were there for eight days on the road entirely. And I had to bring my laptop and like 2 hard drives. And every night we had to just download all the content off of the SD cards because we were just filling them up. And we had to just download them off and be able to start fresh the next day. Because, we have like, 500 gig SD card and in a bunch of these GoPros, and they just fill up. I mean, yeah, it's just tons. We film everything as much as we can. There's a lot of B-roll stuff that like can end up being really, really cool. Even when we're just bullshitting, walking around, like just talking about whatever we're talking about. Sometimes there's just really good jokes. There's really good, funny little moments. There's a random like car crash or something, like
some
stuff
dude
like
eats
that.
shit behind you while you're walking down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna get when you're filming.
Are you going in with like a loose script of like, hey, we're going to this event and we want to hit X, Y, and Z points at a very minimum, and then kind of everything else is the happenstance and gravy on it? Or are you just writing your edit script after reviewing footage?
Yeah, I think that depends on the that depends on the trip.
Yeah, trip or the event.
Some of our stuff has a little more plan, like rigidity to it. Like say Sturgis, for instance, we have, it's like me and him are getting to bed. It sucks, man, because we don't get to party or do any of that to be able to get good footage and to be aware and be awake the next day and be safe in riding. And so it'll be like, cool, we're going out to Legends Suspension tomorrow. We're going to talk with those guys, get them on camera. Then we got some free time, but then there will be some days that aren't. So some days have a pretty rigid schedule like that we have to plan out. We kind of have to stick to it in order to make these vlogs come out the way we want them. And then some days are a little more freestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of freestyle element to a lot of it. And I think that's I don't know, it's kind of our special sauce in a way. It kind of is how we don't seem to like, I guess maybe robotic or planned.
It doesn't feel like a TV show that way. There's like a naturalism to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we keep kind of just open ideas, like, hey, this is our general game plan. This is generally when we want to get on the bikes. We want to make it here roughly this time. And like when we're on, on a trip riding, like we're on comms and stuff, and we'll just be, kind of thinking about like, hey, there's kind of some sick spots right now. We should probably get some footage of us riding. Like the country around us is really like looks awesome. This would probably be a great shot,
I think a lot of that structure came from his necessities for editing. So it's like, this kind of started off and always will be. We had no plans with this thing other than to just have some memories and be able to share, with our kids when we're gone, or, just to to be able to look back on and have fun. There was never any intent behind any of this other than that. But when it came down to it, it was like, wow, this is a bit chaotic. I don't know where to even function or start with editing all of this.
Yeah.
So that started with a little bit of like, okay,
Yeah.
I think we need to plan this out a little bit for um just for the sake of making editing better. So it's like, okay, start filming here for this one thing because later on it'll be a marker or something for be able to grab onto instead of just, oh, I'm going to wade through all this crap and try to remember where this thing is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that definitely, it was out of necessity that some of the structure kind of, other than that, it's just, kids with cameras really is all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of like the kind of culture of YouTube stuff. So, because every like social media site and every kind of way of engagement has its plus and minuses, right? So, how do you deal with like engaging the community and comments, and how do you like deal with negativity and how do you amplify positivity? Like, how do you kind of navigate that?
That's a really good question. I would say there's we don't get a lot of like negative comments. And when we do, it's usually just kind of an off the wall like comment that half the time just doesn't even make sense. Or it's just somebody like if we're doing like a test ride video on a new bike or something, somebody will just be like, yeah, I would never ride that. Like electronic bikes suck, like that's like to the extent of some of the
Yeah.
negativity. And we'll get random people that'll, I don't know. I had a guy ask me if my Choppers magazine was a vintage 1990s Screaming Eagle hat, and he hoped I didn't buy it for $300 off eBay. Like that was a comment.
You feel like you're getting off the hook compared to other people, then probably.
Yeah.
And that's what I've heard. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't know why, but
Yeah.
it seems to be pretty chill for the most part on our end. And I think he just ignores it when we're talking to guys, ignore it or kill him with kindness.
Yeah.
Thank them for, adding to our comments and being part,
Yeah, thanks for
being
bumping
part
our
of it.
algorithm, pal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey,
Tell
we
us we
appreciate
suck more. Come on, no.
The engagement, it helps the numbers. So it's all good. And I mean,
never really been anything I would say like, oh man, that would be racist or inclusivity stuff. Like nobody's really ever done anything that made us kind of have to like make a move or anything crazy like that, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, you got off easy then, that's for sure.
Well, we try to keep it very family, like somewhat family friendly ish. Obviously, like me and Josh, we're riding motorcycles, we're at motorcycle events. We don't make content for kids, but we try to, keep stuff that we would, show like a younger audience and not be like worried about oh man, like we don't look good saying this or doing this or
we're not taking shots at the strip club or anything like that. It's not a part.
No, but I will say the one of the Bend, Oregon videos you did was the best overview of that massive McVinimans that I've seen before. Just out of random like side tangent because my wife and I were like, let's go to the McMinimans and like, okay, cool. I just watched that video like a day before by happenstance and so we're like in the entrance, she's like, I think this is it. And I'm like, no, there's so much more to this property. You don't even know.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's alcohol content, but you weren't like partying or something. You were just kind of showing the lay of the land at that massive, kind of mind-blowingly big facility where it looks pretty small from one entrance, and then you're like, oh shit, no, it's a whole city block essentially.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
hidden rooms and all kinds of crazy stuff.
I mean, not target audience as far as kids, but it definitely was like informative while not being like, we're partying super hard, watch us do whatever. So I totally get that. What other YouTube videos like do you watch on the regular? Like what any other
there's some good ones.
Yeah, I think regular for me would be Thrash and Supply when it comes out on Tuesdays.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The Easy Company dudes, those.
Oh yeah, they're funny. We're running a Easy Company bike in the next issue.
Oh, cool.
Oh, rad,
That's
rad.
super rad. Yeah,
I
what
really
else?
like lane split,
Yeah, lane split.
Oh yeah,
boulevard,
yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. He's super nice.
unaffiliated too.
I love theirs. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched theirs like pretty early on. Blockhead was like a big one for me in the
Hmm.
beginning.
Hmm.
Just because I literally watched this how to ride video.
Oh
Like when
yeah.
I like before I even bought a bike, I was thinking about it and I'm like, I guess I'll just like cruise YouTube, motorcycle stuff. Came across that, and then it's cool to know that that was like one of his first big giant videos and now where he's at.
Yeah.
But
They have
I
a lot
think,
of similarities with unaffiliated. I feel like in some ways because you guys are documenting kind of normal facets of what you're doing a lot, and then you have augmentations, of course, maybe
yeah,
not as obsessively as they are.
sure.
Um, but so you could kind of see some of those kind of similarities or kind of kinship with even Lane Splitter. Like I feel like, um, and I hope Son doesn't think this is an insult, but like seeing how it started as like a documenting like a friend group and yourself, and then now where it's becoming more and more of like a industry based kind of thing. You can see that evolution while still keeping the heart of what it meant. And I feel like you guys have a similar vibe where you watch where you started, and then where you are now, and then you're starting to incorporate business aspects of it that are not YouTube based. And maybe this is a good transition to kind of talk about where you are with product development and where you want to be. Because I think there is parallels between you and Lane Split in that way, but each are unique to their own. So I don't want to kind of pigeonhole you if you're coming at it from a totally different perspective. But
Yeah. I mean, I think the comparison is good. I mean, we've just, as we have produced these videos, we've like learned what we have a lot of fun doing. Um, this year was like a big show season for us. Like we tried to make it to, at least I think four shows,
Hmm.
four kind of big shows for us. We only have so much time off, like
Mhm.
work and family and stuff like that to travel out of town. So, we don't, this is, a side project that we hope maybe could be a full-time project. But yeah, I mean, I think now where we're at is, we started just doing some basic merchandise, like just to get some t-shirts. And a lot of it was like for us, we wanted to just rock our own stuff,
Mhm.
Yeah.
have some cool graphics, like hook up the homies with some t-shirts. And we don't have like this giant existing following before we started doing like t-shirts and stuff. So, we sell some shirts. They do a lot better at shows when people can just see them and check them out. But our biggest thing like this year has been getting into making our little motorcycle handlebar bag. We have kind of two little things, and it really only started just because we had some ideas about a bag I had, and we were like, well, if we could make our own, like a little sicker than this one, like that'd be rad.
Yep.
And we made this little GoPro like stuff sack. We wanted to make a little bag that we could shove our GoPros in, whether it's a handlebar bag or if you have ape hangers, some sort of bag you could strap to it.
Mhm.
And it was really just because we wanted a place to throw the GoPro. Because while we're filming, it's like there's only so many locations you can put that GoPro, and you need to be able to get it out and in real quickly. And our buddy Levi Wart, he was a buddy of ours and just knew a guy that made bike mountain biking bags.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
He makes all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Adventure, like motorcycle pannier type bags. You ever seen those bags that people put in the triangle of their bicycle frame? It's like a triangle
Yeah,
bag.
yeah, yeah.
He's just a super high end, like super well made in his garage single guy who's just building all this stuff for a couple of big companies too, and he has his own brand too. So like, and he was a block or two from where
yeah,
we lived out of
two
his
blocks
garage.
away.
He's got like CNC cutting machines for plotting out the
That's
material, and
crazy.
yeah, all in his like 3-car garage, and it's like a factory in there. And cool cat. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
we just linked up with him one day, and we just had our ideas about our bags, and kind of gave him a general layout, like kind of idea of the prototype and just sent it off his way. And, I think maybe like a month later, we had our first one. And then we just rocked them for quite some time. I mean, we had like a whole summer's worth of filming to do and shows and travel. And so we just started rocking our own little bags and just kind of using them, putting them through weather and rain and this and that. And since then, we've kind of done a couple little iterations of them. And then we kind of did like a little small batch for Party at the Pen this year, kind of first like
And they
available
disappeared like instantly,
off
right?
launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sold out in like an hour and 20 minutes.
I
That's
think less.
insane.
I
Yeah.
think less than that, honestly. It was like I think within an hour they were gone.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, well, this is day one. We just opened and they're all gone. We
Yeah.
thought we were gonna have like all this.
We thought we were gonna have
merch.
leftovers.
We had like multiple tables and stuff set up. We had sold them off of the bike, off of the little display, all the things. And then we realized that we sold even our R&D one that we were gonna take down to have more stuff made. I mean, there's files, but it's good to have like a
Yeah.
a version to hand somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was insane. We didn't expect that. So then we just had this extra table that was empty at the Party at the Pin.
And you guys were actually kind of tucked in a kind of far away corner too. So people like had to get there and then pick it up too. So I mean, I think that says a lot for how stoked people were for it. Because
Yeah,
before you
super.
get to that, you've already seen almost every vendor table. But there was a few more past you, like Crispy and them and some of the others. But
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a good spot, man. I don't know what it was about that corner, but it's just like I think you got to that corner and you're wondering what else there is, and we were just kind of angled in that corner.
mhm.
Yeah, it was a good spot for like just watching, just people watching and whatnot.
Well, and we kind of like upgraded our location. We were in the very back, like 2023 Party at the Pen. We were back in that very far corner, just a single 10 by 10. And this year, we both had like bikes. Josh had a bike in the show. I had my bike finished. We had our bags rolling out. We kind of were like, okay, let's get a 10 by 20 this year and kind of, just go one level up with
Mhm.
like our setup and kind of what we're bringing. And
Yeah, it was
yeah,
worth
man.
it. Yeah,
It was great. It was great. I mean, now where we're at with the bags is sort of our guy who made them is actually getting out of the game of making them for people.
Oh,
Just like he got a career job that he's been trying to get for a while, I guess. And so yeah, he kind of hung up shop for like doing stuff for companies, and just his own little brand and his like 9 to 5. So we're basically like seeking out manufacturers right now. Our big thing, especially because we started with this just local guy, just hand sewn,
yeah.
made in America materials. Like we know that we could ship this off to China and have somebody make it way cheaper than it costed us, but we just kind of refuse to do that. We're just not on board with that. We'd rather find another guy, find another shop that can produce, a similar quality, if not better.
Mhm.
Start local and then kind of work our way out if we can't find anybody. So we're kind of in the research phase right now to try and get that, and find somebody. But as soon as we do and we get, a couple ones out that we can make sure they're up to snuff. Yeah, I mean, we're really focusing attention into that as our kind of first product, and something that like so far all the feedback's been really good and people like how we've done the bag and how we've set it up and kind of the price point we're trying to be at. And yeah, so that's really the jump into that.
There's a whole plan with that handlebar bag, and then the stuff sack integrates into that handlebar bag if you choose for it to, through Molly Web and stuff on the side. And that when we did that, kind of launched a bit of like an idea where, and also within just use case where we're traveling sissy bar bags. Oh, what's available sissy bar bags? And that is a crazy game because there's some like little boutique dudes who do some stuff, and then there's like some bigger name guys stuff, and there's definitely some room here for this kind of more travel bag.
Yeah, it's kind of a gambit, right? Like it goes from just a waterproof tube that you stuff to something that's like a backpack that there's just like all kinds of different, so there's a lot of room for innovation and thought on it.
Absolutely. We have some like plans, some serious plans. It's all kind of been talked out. And I think we'd be further along in the game if it wasn't for all of a sudden losing our guy who makes
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
they have to be the quality, the bar of quality that he set was so high. And we understand now right away. We kind of just got lucky with this guy. That we know where we need to be. So it's going to take a while, I think, to find the right guy. We're willing to take the time, it's what we have to do, but we're gonna take kind of some of the same stuff that's going on with our handlebar bags and turn them into sissy bar bag that's going to connect to other things. Everything is going to be integratable, so there's going to be different sizes, versions, and then different available ways to set them up. As far as, do you need to extend out from the sides, extend out from the fronts?
Oh,
Everything's
I
going to
see.
lock, multiple ways of locking and securing. You're going to be able to run them on hardtails, not hardtails. Like, there's all kinds of great stuff that's going to come with it, but we're kind of behind the ball on that at this point. It's still just ideas and
Yep,
yeah.
yep. Late night ideas and just planning and kind of scheming, kind of what we want to focus on after kind of the handlebar bags go. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of ideas we have. Our big thing is just like like when we were in that 3-car garage where we kind of started when we were living together, we had at one point like 17 bikes parked in that garage. And I personally own like 9 or 10 of them. We had another buddy that owned a couple, and Josh had his. And there would just be days like where I'm like, okay, well, I need to take this handlebar bag off real quickly, throw it on this other bike. And so we kind of took the time to, instead of using Velcro straps, we use these belay straps. They're super quick and easy. They grip the bars way better. And our idea was kind of the same thing, to take that with some of the other bag ideas that we
Mhm.
have and just make everything modular. You can stick this on that, and it's like, cool, you just extended the capacity of that by throwing a handlebar bag on the sissy bar bag or
Yeah.
something, or throwing the stuff sack on the side of the handlebar bag. But yeah, man, I mean, that's kind of like our first, product outside of just merchandise. Because it's
Yeah.
like the merchandise game is pretty hard to just like come in and make cool shirts that people actually do want to buy. They work great at shows, but in terms of online sales,
It
we're
could
not
be a hit or
raking it.
miss, though. You'll find one that, like, I don't know. This is my experience. We didn't want to do merch at first, and I think in a past podcast that people want to reference, where me and Carrie from Shoppers Magazine talked about it. We both kind of came from at first trying to avoid doing merch, just doing the magazines because you want to be viewed as a magazine and not a merch company. But then eventually the economics of how expensive a magazine is to produce for one issue compared to a hat or a t-shirt is a totally different thing. And you kind of have to jump on that. But like my experience is like the shirts that I'm the most stoked for, that I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. It's gonna do so well. Um, they'll do maybe okay at a show, but then they don't sell well online necessarily. But then
Yeah.
the shirts that I think are boring, or maybe not my favorite in our, I like everything we put out because I have to okay it, but like there are ones that I'm more stoked on or less stoked on, of course. And the ones that I'm less stoked on oftentimes are the ones that like I can't keep them in stock um online, and it makes no sense. It's kind of one of those weird, like, if your taste is like narrower than what like kind of mass culture's at, then sometimes the things that you're like, oh, it's okay. I mean, someone's gonna like it. Mass culture likes it, but they're not as narrow. And so when you do something that has a design or an idea that is really like more, especially for choppers, like self-referential, so you're like in the niche of a industry, um, it doesn't do as well as something that's just way more broader, just about motorcycles or just about like good vibes, right? Or something like that. Those like kind of broad, big ideas tend to do way better than like what you're into, which is like what I'm saying, royal you, not you two, but which
Yeah.
is like choppers only and like, really specific things, right? So it's always kind of a weird gamble, I think. And you gotta kind of follow your sales data in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's kind of like, it's a good point that you made about that, because we kind of like are choppers, but we also like have dynas and
Yeah.
baggers and sportsters, and like we're kind of from the beginning we just like it all.
Hmm.
Especially here in Boise, we realize there's a lot of there's like kind of a lot of cliques. There's certain groups of dudes that don't hang out with the chopper guys, that don't hang out with like the bagger guys, and I'm sure that's really everywhere.
Oh,
And our
for
big thing,
sure.
with just us like ingraining ourselves in the community and almost trying to highlight these different communities. Our big thing is just like we love it all, and we've just kind of put focus in a lot of different directions.
Mhm.
I think as we've grown, I think me and Josh really love choppers the most out of all of that, just naturally where we've kind of felt a little bit more like we fit in. Um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of our designs and ideas for products and stuff, we're kind of keeping that open idea just kind of outside of just very niche chopper stuff.
Definitely.
What's your 2025 look like? So you went to like four big shows, like in West Coast big shows in Sturgis, right? This last year. What are your like big trying to hits for next year?
Ooh,
I don't even know if we've
great
actually
question.
we always have a night where we sit down towards right around the beginning of the year and plan it out. What do we want to do? We open up the laptop, start looking at what's already kind of announced and get some like core things going on. I don't think we've really talked too much about that. I know we're going to go down to the One Moto Show Vegas.
Oh yeah.
So that's definitely one we want to
That's
try
like
to hit for
a
sure.
Valentine's weekend, right?
I think it's
The weekend
the
before.
weekend
Yeah.
before.
It's
Yeah.
like February 6th through the 8th or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to go down to that one. And then, gosh, man, it's so hard with there's so many great shows nowadays, and some of them are super far away. So it's like,
Yeah.
do I go to Sturgis this year, or do I go down to the nitty gritty Chopper City down in Texas? It's like you gotta pick them out. Or am I going to Born Free? Or we're trying to hit different stuff if we can,
Yeah.
which
Every
makes it
year.
hard because we make friends and have a good time at a certain thing. We'd love to go again.
Yeah. That's a weird one. It's hard, but my experience has been a lot of the people kind of rotate to the other shows too. Like because some go to everything, some go to just a few. And so, sometimes there's a few shows that I go to because I know I'm going to see the one person that I really just want to see and I stay at their house or something. But I tend to find I run into a lot of people multiple times a year as you start going to more. But so that's always like the dilemma. It's like it's
Yeah. Which
travel
one's
time, who you want to see. And then if you're trying to do business too, it's like, well, what's the best for the business too? Because it all costs money in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we want to hit some point we want to hit an East Coast show of some sort. I don't know. We haven't really
There's
worked that
just
one out, but
there's so many,
like
man.
Mama Tried would be cool. I've never been to that part of the country. It would be cool to get out there and check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the
Milwaukee's
the
neat.
Grundle one would be
Oh,
sweet
Georgia.
out
Yeah.
in Georgia. I met the boys from Long Brothers Choppers at Nitty Gritty, and they were telling me all about the Grundle run. And I was like,
Yeah,
man,
we've
that sounds
sponsored
like a
that for
great
like
time.
5 years or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, that's rad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I came out to Nitty Gritty Chopper City this year. That was like kind of me and Josh were originally planning to go, and just through work and stuff, like I ended up being the only one that could make it.
Wow.
And I have family out in Dallas, so I'm like, okay, well, fly in, stay with the family for free, drive down to go to that show. And our boy Eric, like Eric's old best friend of Josh, they grew up together, and so we had to kind of make it out to that. And
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a hard one for me.
it was very hard.
Eric
Yeah.
Vaughn is a very close. I would call him a best friend of mine, and I moved to Texas with him when he moved from Idaho to Texas, and I ended up coming back for my family. I was down there doing work, but anyway, that was a hard one to miss because that's my buddy, and he created this awesome thing, and I really wanted to be part of it. But so I'm definitely going back there. I'm hoping this year. I should be able to do it this year. If I don't make it happen, I'm a bad friend.
I mean,
Love you, Eric.
we will always go to Party at the Pen, just being our like home show.
Yeah.
We've been at Party at the Pen the last 2 years, and we, definitely want to come back, again for 2025. I think like Born Free would be sick. We haven't done that. Some sort of like California based show, maybe even something in like Northern California. So it's not as crazy of a drive or ride for us. Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
we should
know. I
do
mean,
Born Free once. I mean, it's
got to
kind of
do it
like
at least.
Chopper Disneyland, and it's also 15 miles from actual Disneyland. So,
Yeah, totally. There's a bunch of people down there that we've talked to and had dealings with through various things, and it's like, yeah, come down, let's do a vlog, let's
yeah.
get together, let's make some content. And it's like, okay, so now it's like when we end up going down there, it needs to be like a week or two, because we need to be able to make a bunch of these things happen that have kind of been on the books.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. Stay tuned for when we figure it out. I mean, it's pretty ad hoc. I think we just don't want to repeat the same like show every year and just be the guys that go to the three same shows.
Yeah.
We document the same three shows every time. I know for sure Party of the Pen will be on there, but everything else is always open. Like if there's a dope show, even smaller stuff too, because it's like obviously there's plenty of Born Free videos, that'll come out, and obviously there's not a Crooks Moto version of it, but there will be at some point. But even some of the smaller stuff, shows that are maybe just starting to pop up, or first or second year or something.
Great to be able to support some of the up and coming stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just kind of highlight some of that stuff, kind of bring light and attention to some of these other shows.
Well, right on, guys. You have any kind of last thoughts you want to part on people who listen to this?
Oh man. Yes, keep watching and be kind to each other. It's a crazy world out there these days. And keep riding bikes and building bikes, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basically exactly what Josh said. Check out the channel. Let us know what you think. I mean, we're always like looking for ideas and ways to film more stuff or do different things or go different places.
Yep.
We're always trying to visit like a new state, new city, new thing to go check out. We got some bike builds that we're kind of working on through the winter too. Some more chopper stuff coming. And yeah, follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, dude. If you see us in the wild, come say hi. We're nice guys. We're friendly, and we want to throw you on the vlog.
Do You Even Chopper is a product of The Ton Magazine. You can find us online at thetonmag.com, on Instagram, Facebook at The Ton Mag, as well as other streaming services and YouTube. We appreciate your listening. Thank you. If you want more content like this, subscribe to our channel and find us online either through Instagram or Facebook. We really appreciate it, and have a happy new year.